Pleasant good morning to everyone. Before we ask God's guidance upon this forum, could you kindly turn to your neighbor on the left and the right and say to him or her, it's a beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day. Let us bow our heads in prayer. Gracious God, we come before you this day with grateful hearts, lifting up the NDC Investment Forum, its goals, its objectives. We thank you for the vision behind this initiative, dear Lord, and the opportunity to gather as a community to advance the growth and development of our Caribbean basin with our strategic partners. We ask for your divine guidance in helping this forum to achieve its goals, bringing unity, strength, prosperity to all those involved. May the investments made here lead to long-lasting partnerships, empowerment of our communities, and positive transformations within our region. We pray for wisdom and discernment, and for all those making decisions, that they may be guided by your wisdom. Father, Lord, we ask for the strength and the resources necessary to carry out their work, and that you bless this initiative with the growth it seeks. May it be a source of prosperity for all nations, bringing new opportunities, enriching the lives of our people. Lord, we also pray for peace, collaboration, and understanding among all stakeholders. May the partnerships formed through this forum be fruitful and beneficial, leading to a shared success and a brighter future for the Caribbean and beyond. We ask all these and more through the same Christ our Lord. God bless you all and have a successful forum.
Please remain standing with me as I welcome our 9-year-old powerhouse, Ms. Gabrielle Peters Woodruff, as she sings the national anthem of Grenada.
Hail, Grenada, land of ours, we pledge ourselves to thee. Heads, hearts, and hands in unity to reach our destiny. Ever conscious of God, being proud of our heritage, may we with faith and courage aspire, build, advance as one people, one family. God bless our nation.
She is our rising star, Ms. Gabrielle Peters Woodruff. Her manager is in the audience, and she's always with her. So for those of you who will be holding the next conference, her manager is in black next to her. That's her mom, her biggest supporter. And we thank you, Gabrielle. You came down here with your school, and we thank you for gracing us. And Gabrielle reminds me that age is just a number. Congratulations, Gabrielle. All right, you may have your seats. Yes, we're going to exercise a lot today. Honorable Karine James, Minister for Climate Resilience, the Environment, and Renewable Energy. Ms. Perron Johnson, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Climate Resilience, the Environment, and Renewable Energy. Senator Seville Francis, Parliamentary Secretary within the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Ambassador Kennedy Roberts, Sustainable Development Goals. Mr. Grant Kirkman, Team Leader, Country and Private Sector Engagement, Climate Finance, Means of Implementation Department, UN Climate Change. Dr. Pablo Vieira, Global Director, NDC Partnership. Dr. Didicus Jules, Director General, OECS Commission. Mrs. Anita Montut, Permanent Secretary in the Department of Sustainable Development, Ministry of Education, Sustainable Development, Innovation, Science, Technology, and Vocational Training, Government of St. Lucia. Honorable Sean Edward, Mr. Luca Trincieri, Team Leader, Green Deal Partnership with the Caribbean Delegation of the European Union to Barbados. Mr. Malak Draz, Country Manager, Fund for International Development. Mr. Derek Gibbs, Caribbean Development Bank. Mr. Marion Gies, Head of Project GIZ. Miss Marion, GIZ Grenada, Climate Resilient Water Sector of Grenada, G Cruz. Ms. Jennifer Hannah Colado, Regional Manager, Latin America and the Caribbean, NDC Partnership. Mr. Daniel Munoz Smith, Caribbean Representative for the Global Green Growth Institute, members of the National Climate Change Committee. Mr. Jonathan Mitchell, Youth Parliamentarian of Grenada, all government officials, members of the business community, members of the media, distinguished guests, and partners, a marvelous Monday morning to all of you. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you today, not just to this conference, but to our beautiful, resilient island, Grenada. We welcome you to the land where you will experience our rich culture and warm hospitality. And as we gather here to discuss advancing finance for nationally determined contributions, we are reminded of the critical role that small island developing states play in shaping a sustainable and resilient future. To welcome you officially, I'd like to welcome to the podium Mr. Jonathan Mitchell, our Youth Parliamentarian for the South, the Great South, as he likes to call it. Jonathan.
Honorable Kieran James, Minister of Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy. Honorable Claudia Joseph, Attorney General and Minister for Legal and Labor and Consumer Affairs. Honorable Philip Telesford, Minister for Health. Honorable Adrian Thomas, Minister of Tourism, Creative Economy and Culture. Honorable Lennox Andrews, Minister for Economic Development, Agriculture, Planning, Blue Economy, Creative Economy, Tourism, and ICT. Ms. Carvalette, Secretary of the Cabinet. Ms. Perrin Johnson, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Climate Resilience, the Environment, and Renewable Energy. All Permanent Secretaries of the Government of Grenada. Mr. Kennedy Roberts, Ambassador to the Sustainable Development Goals. Dr. Grant Kirkman, Team Leader, Country and Private Sector Engagement, Climate Finance, Means of Implementation Department, UN Climate Change. Dr. Pablo Vieira, Global Director, NDC Partnership. Dr. Didicus Jules, Director of the General OECS Commission. Mrs. Anita Montut, Permanent Secretary, Department of Sustainable Development, Ministry of Education, Sustainable Development, Innovation, Science, Technology, and Vocational Training, Government of St. Lucia. Vice Honorable Sean Edward, Minister. Mr. Luca Trincieri, Team Leader, Green Deal Partnership with the Caribbean, Delegation of the European Union to Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean states, OECS, and CARICOM. Ms. Malak Draz, Country Manager, OPEC, Fund for International Development. Mr. Derek Gibbs, Caribbean Development Bank. Ms. Marion Geis, Head of Project, GIC Grenada. Climate Resilience Water Sector in Grenada, GCRUISE. Ms. Jennifer Hannah Colado, Regional Manager, Latin America and Caribbean, NDC Partnership Support Unit. Mr. Daniel Smith, Caribbean Representative for the Global Green Growth Institute, GGGI. Members of the National Climate Change Committee, Mr. Jonathan Mitchell, Youth Parliamentarian of Grenada. Members of the business community, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Investing in a climate resilient future. Good morning again. Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, development partners, and all those committed to the urgency of climate change. It is truly an honor to stand before you today, representing the voice of a generation that will inherit the consequences of the decisions we make today. A generation that is not only watching, but is ready to lead, innovate, and take action in the fight for a sustainable future. The third NDC Investment Forum is more than just a gathering of people. Rather, it is a moment of reckoning for us as a region. It is a call to move beyond words and to drive investments, partnerships, and policies that will make our islands more resilient, more sustainable, and more prosperous for us to thrive. Our region is at a pivotal moment in the global climate conversation. As small island developing states, SIDS, we are on the front lines of a crisis that we did not cause, but of which we must bear the brunt. Every year, we see the growing toll of climate change, stronger hurricanes, prolonged droughts, rising sea levels, and economic losses that threaten our way of life. Yet, despite these challenges, we remain resilient as we see ourselves not just as victims, but rather as leaders, innovators, champions of bold action. Our region has been at the forefront of climate advocacy, pushing for more ambitious national determined contribution, NDCs, transitioning to renewable energy and demanding fair access to climate finance. But the reality remains, ambition alone will not save us. We need to accelerate the flow of investment into climate action, ensuring that funding is not just pledged but delivered, not just discussed but implemented. As a young leader, I stand here knowing that the decisions made in this room today and over the next few days will shape the future of every young Caribbean citizen. The youth of the Caribbean are not just the leaders of tomorrow. We are the change makers of today. Across the region, young people are creating climate solutions, driving entrepreneurship in the green economy, and demanding accountability from those in power. As I welcome you to beautiful Grenada, I also welcome all gathered here to prioritize youth participation in climate investments. We need more funding for youth-led climate initiatives, stronger support for young entrepreneurs in the green economy, and capacity-building programs to empower the next generation of climate leaders. This forum, therefore, provides an opportunity for us to transform commitments into action. Governments, private sector leaders, and development partners must go beyond pledges and ensure that climate finance reaches those who need it most, especially vulnerable communities, youth innovators, and local initiatives that are already making a difference. As we engage in discussions over the next few days, let us ensure that we forge stronger partnerships, develop actionable strategies, and mobilize investments needed to implement our NDCs. The Caribbean's future depends on our ability to act with urgency, with courage, and with an unshakable commitment to climate justice and sustainable development. With these few words, I warmly welcome you and urge all of us to seize this moment, not just as policymakers, investors, and advocates, but as guardians of a future that demands bold and immediate action for the next generation. I want everyone sitting here to turn to the person next to you. So let's turn to the person next to you. Look them in the eye and say with conviction, climate action starts with us. Together, let us build a climate resilient Caribbean that thrives, not just survives. Thank you, and I look forward to a productive and inspiring forum.
Thank you, Jonathan. Jonathan was recently elected in our first ever youth elections held in Grenada, and he is the MP, the youth MP for South St. George. I know you must be thinking, another Mitchell. He said it in his inauguration speech, another Mitchell. Thank you, Jonathan, and continue to do great work as one of our youth leaders. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Crispin Dauvergne to introduce our next speaker.
Thank you, Neelant. Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me add my words of welcome on behalf of the OECS Commission. The Caribbean NDC Finance Initiative, or NDCFI, was launched in September 2017. At the time, Hurricane Maria was ravaging the region. But it was launched in the midst of a storm. And it's reassuring to know that during the storm and after, your friends and your partners are there with you. And so we are happy to call on the founding partners of the NDCFI to make a few brief statements. So first of all, I'd like to call on Dr. Grant Kirkman. He's a team leader, country and private sector engagement, climate finance, means of implementation of UN climate change. Grant?
Thanks, Crispin. And it's really great to be here again. Honorable Ministers, I'm not going to go through the whole list again, okay? So, Honorable Ministers, distinguished delegates, partners, and friends, it's really great to be back in Grenada. This is my third time here, and it's an honor to address you today as one of the opening speakers of the NDCFI and Marketplace here in Grenada. On behalf of the UNFCCC Secretariat, I extend our heartfelt thanks to the OECS Commission, the Government of Grenada, and all partners bringing us here together in this critical moment. Your leadership exemplifies the Caribbean's determination to rise above the challenges of the climate crisis. This region stands at a crossroads, vulnerable yet resolute. From bolstering early warning systems to restoring ecosystems, the Eastern Caribbean in particular is forging a path of resilience that inspires us all. We also celebrate, as the UNFCCC, milestones like St. Lucia's submission of its new NDC, and we know also many more on the way. This is the first from the Caribbean SIDS, signaling the moment we must build upon. But the urgency is undeniable. Limited access to finance, stretched human capacity, and as my good friend Crispin would always say, warm bodies, the lack thereof, and competing national priorities test this region's resolve, as many other regions too. At the UNFCCC, we are here to support you in every way we can in overcoming some of these barriers. Allow me to highlight three imperatives that should frame our discussions over the next 3 days. First of all, unlock finance at scale. Pledges here, now, later, and at COP30 should and must translate into more resources through innovative tools like blue bonds, for example, carbon markets, and you hear many more about that these 3 days, debt for climate swaps, to power renewable energy, climate-smart agriculture, resilient infrastructure, but investments must flow equitably to this region. Secondly, we must turn ambition into action. Too many projects linger as ideas. Too much policy support sits and does not move. In part, the UNFCCC Secretariat has helped and is committed to helping bridge this gap through what we call the needs-based finance support, which you'll also hear about more of tomorrow. Ensuring your climate strategies and your climate plans become reality, in part embellished in the NDCs. Thirdly, we must empower communities and the youth. The ingenuity of fisher folks, farmers, entrepreneurs, many of you are outside today, and young leaders is your strength. We must amplify their solutions in national policies and ensure loss and damage funding reaches those who need it most when disaster strikes. Following my remarks here, you will hear from my Executive Secretary, Simon Steele, whose recorded message will build upon these themes with his personal perspective as a son of Carousel. Together, we should call for this forum to be a turning point where partnerships are formed and forged, projects are funded, and alliances are strengthened. Every step towards and forwards here saves lives and secures livelihoods. We know that. Thank you once again, and I look forward to a forum that marks the dawn of a climate-resilient Caribbean. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Grant. And Neela will introduce the next speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Kirkman. I heard vulnerable yet resolute, and I think that should stick with us throughout our fight for climate justice and climate action. I now invite you to look at the screen. I know I'm there, but you'll see. I'd like to invite a recording from Ms. Amanda McKee, Knowledge and Learning Director, NDC Partnership.
Excellencies, colleagues, friends, it is a pleasure to welcome you to the Third Caribbean NDC Finance Initiative Investment Forum and Marketplace in beautiful Grenada. I want to extend a special thank you to the government of Grenada for hosting us, and I deeply regret that I'm not able to join you in person and be part of the essential conversation that will unfold over the coming days. The NDC Partnership has been proud to engage in the Caribbean NDC Finance Initiative, the NDCFI, since the beginning. In 2017, the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States Commission and the Government of St. Lucia, in partnership with the UNFCCC and with initial support from GIZ and the NDC Partnership, set out to fast-track the implementation of NDCs. The outcome was the first NDCFI in St. Lucia in 2019. 6 years later, NDCFI has become a vital platform, mobilizing key actors in finance, climate, and development across the Caribbean. Accessing and deploying climate finance is essential to achieving the Paris Agreement's goals. Yet, we know that countries face significant hurdles, including complex and onerous requirements to access funds, high capital costs, and limited concessional finance and capacity constraints that slow access and deployment. Despite significant challenges, countries in the region continue to show climate leadership. NDC Partnership members evidence this, including Antigua and Barbuda's investment planning and private sector engagement strategy for NDC implementation, Belize's climate finance strategy, and St. Lucia's finance strategy, just to highlight a few examples. The NDC partnership supports countries in accessing climate finance by improving enabling conditions to unlock finance from public, private, international, and national sources, and strengthening partners' ability to leverage their technical assistance and resources to strategically unlock project financing. When faced with shrinking ODA budgets and reduced fiscal space, these efforts to increase efficiency and to do more by working together have never been more important. To guide countries through the full cycle of climate investment planning and finance mobilization, the NDC Partnership and the Green Climate Fund developed a framework. Countries are using this framework now to shape their requests for support from the NDC Partnership, ensuring targeted and effective assistance. The partnership supports over 80 countries, including identifying, costing, and prioritizing climate investments that optimize social, economic, and environmental objectives, strengthening national institutions such as ministries of planning and finance and financial regulators to strengthen the enabling environments and integrate climate into planning, budgeting, investment, embedding economic and finance advisors to really advance climate mainstreaming and finance mobilization across government, supporting the development of projects and pipelines to attract the appropriate investors, engaging the private sector to drive mitigation and adaptation investments, and facilitating knowledge exchange, sharing of best practices, and providing interactive tools like the Climate Funds Explorer. The partnership is also supporting countries in developing investable NDCs. For instance, countries can use the NDC 3.0 Navigator, an interactive online tool to identify opportunities for enhanced ambition within their national contexts, building on this insight to submit requests for support to the partnership. The NDCFI is really a unique platform for the Caribbean and the partnership to implement this approach, prioritizing investment needs, addressing gaps and barriers to finance, and engaging potential investors, financiers, and implementation partners to evaluate financing options. The NDC partnership has supported the NDCFI since day one, and we continue to encourage other regions and countries to follow the Caribbean's example. Thank you, and I wish you a very successful event.
Thank you as well, Ms. McKee. We also would like to hear from Dr. Didicus Jules, Director General of the OECS. This is also a virtual message.
Mr. Solomon, the Honorable Karen James, Minister of Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy, esteemed ministers of the Government of Grenada, Permanent Secretaries of Grenada and the OECS member states, distinguished development partners from the UN Climate Change NDC Partnership, the EU Commission, OPEC, the Caribbean Development Bank, the GIZ, Grenada, and the Global Green Growth Institute, members of national climate change committees, representatives of youth, members of the business community, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the third Caribbean NDC Investment Forum. I extend warm greetings on behalf of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States and express deep gratitude to the government and people of Grenada for hosting us, even amidst the recent impacts of Hurricane Beryl, a sobering reminder of the increasing frequency and ferocity of climate events confronting our region. We gather today not just for a forum, but for a critical reckoning with our ambitions, our challenges, and our responsibilities. The theme that unites us here transcends policy or planning. It speaks to the very survival and prosperity of small island developing states like ours. Let us be abundantly clear. We are running out of time. Global temperatures have already risen by 1.1 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels. The latest IPCC report warns that the window to limit warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade, which is the threshold beyond which climate impacts could become irreversible, is closing fast. For SAIDS, this is not an academic discussion. It is existential. It is about our economies, our ecosystems, our cultures, our coastlines, our very lives, and the future of our children. Yet, despite this urgent reality, the world's climate ambition continues to falter. Global geopolitical tensions and economic shocks have distracted attention and diverted financing away from climate action. But we in the Caribbean do not have the luxury of delay. We cannot wait for the world to rescue us. We must build our own lifeboats. This is the spirit in which the Caribbean NDC Finance Initiative was born in 2017. It was an act of bold, pragmatic hope forged through the partnership of the OECS Commission and the government of St. Lucia, with the political support of the UNFCCC and the NDC partnership, and initial support from the government of Germany, and we thank them for that support. The NDCFI was designed to do something radical, and that is to empower Caribbean nations to finance their own future, to move beyond declarations to implementation, to bring together governments, development banks, private financiers, and communities around a common purpose, and that is to make our nationally determined contributions real, measurable, and bankable. Since then, we have made tangible progress. We have worked with member states to develop investment-ready climate projects across priority sectors in energy, water, agriculture, and infrastructure. We have facilitated matchmaking between national climate plans and international finance. And in 2021, we launched the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge, a flagship initiative designed to accelerate the deployment of photovoltaic electricity across the region. And the results have been very promising. Solar installations in OECS member states are increasing, with St. Lucia, Dominica, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines among those making significant strides. We look forward with urgent anticipation to the day when these God-given resources, renewable energy, sun, wind, geothermal, are affordable to all of its children. As one pioneering ad of the 1980s boasted, the sun sends no bills. These are small steps, but steps that can lead to transformational change. Perhaps the most powerful expression of the NDCFI's potential is the convening power of this forum. The NDC Investment Forum has grown to become the Caribbean's signature climate action event, a space not just for dialogue, but for action. Our first and second forums, held in St. Lucia in 2018 and 2022 respectively, have laid the groundwork. The third forum, held here in Grenada, has seen overwhelming demand. Registrations have far exceeded expectations. Development partners, financiers, and practitioners are eager not just to speak, but to build. And build we must, because while our ambition is high, the financing gap remains wide. According to the NDC partnership, 96% of countries in Latin America and the Caribbean have received support for at least one aspect of NDC implementation. Yet, only 59% of priority areas identified for enhanced climate action have received meaningful financial support. In the Caribbean, climate finance flows remain a mere trickle compared to the flood that we need. And so, one of the most important discussions we will have during this forum revolves around climate finance. Not just how much is needed, but how to unlock it, how to align it with country priorities, and how to crowd in private capital alongside public funds. That is why this year's forum deliberately includes voices that are sometimes missing from climate finance conversations: the credit unions, the commercial banks, microfinance institutions, local entrepreneurs. Because the green transition must not be an elite endeavor, it must be accessible, it must be inclusive to the realities of our communities. Friends and colleagues, we are at an inflection point. We are at an inflection point. The Caribbean is often described as vulnerable, but we are also visionary. We are a region of resilience and innovation. From the geothermal fields of St. Kitts and Nevis and Dominica, to the electric bus rollout in Barbados, to the mangrove restoration efforts in St. Lucia, we are already forging solutions. What we need now is scale. What we need now is sustained investment. What we need now is a true global partnership grounded in fairness and mutual respect. Let me therefore thank our partners who are walking this road with us, in particular the European Union, the OPEC Fund for International Development, the Caribbean Development Bank, the Global Green Growth Institute, GIZ, and the NDC Partnership. Your support has been instrumental, but we urge you to walk a further mile alongside us. Join us in building a predictable, replenishable pool of funding for the NDCFI at the OECS Commission, so we can continue to provide project preparation support, technical assistance, and regional coordination to drive the implementation forward. Finally, I wish to thank the government of Grenada for its proactive leadership and the hospitality of family. I extend deep appreciation to the OECS Commission and Grenada planning teams for your tireless work. And un abrazo fuerte to every participant here today for investing your time, ideas, and energy in this urgent cause. The stage is set, the world is watching us. Let us rise together as a Caribbean community that refuses to be left behind. Let us build a resilient, low-carbon, and prosperous future. Not tomorrow, not next year, but now. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jules. At this time, we'd like to call on Mrs. Anita Motut, Permanent Secretary in the Department of Sustainable Development, Ministry of Education, Sustainable Development, Innovation, Science, Technology, and Vocational Training, Government of St. Lucia.
Good morning, everyone. Please allow me to adopt the protocol that has already been established. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my esteemed privilege to address you today at this third hosting of the Caribbean Nationally Determined Contribution Investment Forum hosted by the Grenada government and convened under the theme, Investing in Climate Action for a Resilient Caribbean. The hosting of this forum comes at a pivotal moment in climate history as our member states prepare their third nationally determined contributions to achieve a 1.5-degree goal through ambition actions that include tripling renewable energy capacities, doubling energy efficiency measures, accelerating zero and low emission technologies, among other actions. As a founding member of the NDCFI, the government of St. Lucia recognizes the critical role of this forum in bringing together a broad cross-section of stakeholders to advance opportunities for financing and investing in NDCs in the Eastern Caribbean. As the world is expected to transition away from fossil fuel energy by 2050, there is an urgent need for highly concessional and non-debt instruments to be deployed in the Caribbean, ensuring NDCs are supported by finance flows consistent with low-emission, climate-resilient development pathways. In 2017, the Government of St. Lucia and the Commission of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States established the NDCFI to act as a space for these financial conversations, investment, and partnerships to occur. This space facilitates advancing shared regional solutions, consolidating resources, enabling collaboration, and providing opportunities for the Eastern Caribbean to build our resilience and help us realize the 1.5-degree world. It is imperative that we scale up climate finance to the region to address our key adaptation and mitigation priorities. Increased finance will assist the region in reducing its risk vulnerability by making key sectors such as agriculture, tourism, water, biodiversity, and infrastructure more resilient to climate impacts and support our energy needs through investment in renewable energy. Turning the tide to support climate action is vital to the government and people of St. Lucia, and we have since advanced significant efforts to tap into private finance, supported by clear policies, while designing innovative solutions to mobilize the necessary resources. These efforts include passing the landmark Climate Change Act in 2024, developing a blue bond framework, creating a climate finance unit, and most recently conducting a climate public expenditure institutional review. Collectively, these actions will help us legislate climate action across 10 priority sectors, fund projects with dedicated environmental or social benefits, streamline the process of accessing finance for transformative projects from public and private finance channels, and assess the opportunities and constraints for integrating climate change concerns within national budget allocation and expenditure processes, respectively. Further to this, in keeping with our commitment under the Paris Agreement, St. Lucia is pleased to have completed and submitted our third NDC in advance of the February 10, 2025 deadline set by the parties of the agreement. As the first Caribbean country and small island developing state to complete and submit this document, we have signaled to our development partners, local and international investors, bilateral allies, and other financiers that St. Lucia is ready to collaborate on ambitious global action. In the coming years, we are also expected to roll out our entire climate budget, targeting to refine our reporting of resources mobilized transparently and comprehensively. Through the NDCFI and the other similar fora, the government of St. Lucia, together with the rest of the region, will continue to advocate for enhanced ambition and financial support for seeds, in keeping with the outcome of the global stocktake, to increase ambition and accelerate action by mobilizing finance from vast sources, instruments, and channels. Over the next 3 days, as we foster an inclusive, people-centered approach to climate action through dialogue, let us aim to catalyze investment in resilient and low-carbon infrastructure across priority sectors as identified by the OECS member states as we build a more sustainable Caribbean, ensuring no one is left behind. In closing, I encourage participants in this forum to encourage and to engage meaningfully, present bold and transformative initiatives ready for investment, collaborate to scale up impacts, and commit to funding real work in our communities and towns as we build our resilience and preserve our way of life. Let us work together to secure investment for NDCs as we safeguard our environment, protect our economies, and secure a better future for our people. I thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Montoute, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education and the Department of Sustainable Development, Government of St. Lucia. In a previous climate action conference, there was an F word that was being thrown around. Do y'all remember what that F word was? This is a clean conference, so y'all remember what that F word was? Hello. Funding, right? We need the money, all right? And we have to do this together, all right? So I know you didn't expect that, right? Ladies and gentlemen, we want to give you a taste of Grenadian talent, and I'd like to invite at this point Mr. Brandon Braffett to do a spoken word piece for you.
Good morning, one and all. Though I feel as if I'm speaking to the converted, this piece, I think, would go well with today's theme entitled, simply put, AIM. 2030, a countdown or a deadline. Drip, drip, drip. The sound of rain when it pours, pours, downpours on the poor or financially unable. Climate change should have brought a change so that we're finally able to have a conversation about heat, heat, heat. How much it burns, burns, burns. How much the seeds sown yearn, yearn. Yearn for a balance. See, the challenge with climate resilience is that its implementation leaves a lot to be desired with regards to monetization. Somehow, if I could sell you just the right amount of rain along with cooling agents for your ocean, then I wouldn't need to rely on fossil fuels and focus on my pollution reduction. My deduction is there is nothing in it for me. If the planet sets ablaze in the next 30 years, I'll just enjoy the little time with profits lining my pockets despite profits, now dressed in lab coats and research papers in hand, preaching that a reversal is still possible, probable, even on a large scale. But perhaps the blame is outsourced to nations that are much greater, and whatever holes we cover up, they seem to provide craters in our plan. Do not fool yourself. You are still responsible for your own ocean, your own land. A resilient climate can only be achieved with a resilient, steadfast stand. So here's the scenario. Assess, not just in schools, but let the message be widespread so that no Grenadian can be considered a fool with regards to the environment. We need to speak so that wrongdoings are not only acknowledged, but condemned. Implement. Let our efforts to train not remain only as electrical impulses in our brains. Let them be visible, physical. It's not too late to revive animals that may be on the brink of lost existence. Perhaps it's time to line our highways with solar-powered panels that may one day power the future, one that you and I may not see, or invest in a tree that eventually brings about food. It's time to place food security at the forefront of our minds as rising temperatures and water scarcity pose a problem. Lastly, manage. The days of doing haphazard actions are over. It's not enough that we just cut ribbons and say, job well done. Our strategies have to be redesigned, modernized, and in time, improve as we embark on a journey that we may not live to see through to the end. So while the task may be daunting at first, let us remember that our path right now may just be worse. The experts have spoken, and I've just put pen to paper. But if you give a listening ear, you'll thank us later. Resilient actions towards climate change, this challenge at which we take aim. I thank you.
And we thank you, Brandon, for your spoken word piece and your advice. At this time, I'd like to welcome on stage the First Choice Junior School. They're the winners of the National Festival of the Arts Folk Choir Division Primary School. Let's welcome First Choice Junior School.
Everyone. Good morning, everyone. My name is Amir Francis from the First Choice Junior School Choir. We are going to sing a few songs for you today. The first song we are going to sing is entitled, "O Grenada, We Got to Save We Land."
And the rivers running dry.
The next song that we are going to sing is entitled Apre Carnivala. It is a Patois song. The next song we are going to sing is entitled Mango Time.
I'm feeling for some rice and peas today. I'm gonna ask Mom if she could cook some rice and peas for us, okay? Okay. Mommy, cook some rice and peas for me today. No rice and peas. It's not good. It's not hot enough. I'm feeling for some back and neck today. I'm gonna ask Mom if she could cook some for us. Go up to the mic. Go up to the mic. Oh, gosh, I just frustrated. We have to do it. Go up to the mic. Ollie, I'm going to ask Mommy if she go buy some KFC for us are coming back. Okay. Ollie, maybe if I give Mommy some hot coffee tea, maybe she might buy some KFC for us. Let me ask her. Okay. Cook no rice and peas.
next song is entitled The Banana Boat Song.
Go to the next mic now. Go to the tall mic down there.
Daylight come and me want go home. Me say day, me say day, me say day, me say day, me say day. Daylight come and me want go home. Walk all night and I drink a coffee. Daylight come and me want go home. Stack banana till the morning come. Daylight come and me want go home. Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and me want go home. Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and me want go home. Daylight come and me want go home. Me say day, me say day, me say day, me say day, me say day. Daylight come and me want go home. A beautiful bunch of ripe banana. Daylight come and me want go home. Top quality produce from tissue culture. Daylight come and me want go home. Live 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. Daylight come and me want go home. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. Daylight come and me want go home. Daylight come and me want go home. Thank you. First choice. First choice, I'd like you to sing over that final verse. I'd like to invite the audience to stand. Just sing banana with the kids. And some of you will get a banana treat. Can you exit through the audience and give people the bananas, okay? And I would like a banana as well.
Yeah, I'll make space.
Banana
Wonderful. Yes, I know you've been sitting for a while, so that was a good way to get you up and your blood flowing a little bit. Let's give it up one more time for the First Choice Junior School. The conductress this morning is their principal, Mrs. Elizabeth Forsyth. I'm not sure how she got 50 boys and girls to practice and to be so wonderful. Congratulations. They are the winners of the folk choir category of the National Festival of the Arts. And of course, in Grenada, we give all our young people an opportunity to showcase their talents and skills. And I want to thank the little ones for coming out and for handing out bananas. And those of you who can relate, the mango season is coming up. So if you're here until mango season, I invite you to just try it one day. Just turn your pots down and enjoy delicious Ceylon and Julie mango. And the Calavini ones are nice and sweet as well. All right, but it is sapodilla season, so I hope they're serving sapodillas at lunch. Thank you, everyone. You may have your seats. And now we welcome a recorded message from our Grenadian brother, Mr. Simon Steele, Executive Secretary, UNFCCC.
Honourable Ministers, distinguished delegates, partners and friends, while I regret not being with you in person today, I'm honoured to join you virtually as you gather in Grenada, a nation emblematic of the Caribbean's unwavering commitment to climate resilience, and of course, my home. To the OECS Commission, the Government of Grenada, and all partners who have made this forum possible, thank you. Your leadership is a testament to what collaboration can achieve. And as someone who hails from Carriacou, this region's challenges and triumphs resonate deeply within me. Across the Eastern Caribbean, nations are taking steps to fortify themselves against climate change, from strengthening early warning systems to enhancing ecosystem services and raising public awareness. These strategies are setting a benchmark in resilience. But time is not on our side. We know that global efforts to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius are falling short. For the Caribbean, this means one thing: accelerated action is non-negotiable. Caribbean nations are currently preparing their next round of national climate plans, NDCs, but challenges persist. Limited financial access, human capacity constraints, and competing national priorities. Nevertheless, I see progress. St. Lucia has become the first Caribbean nation and the first SIDS to submit its new NDC, leading by example. Cuba has also submitted its new NDC, adding to the region's collective efforts on climate action. So today, let me drive home 3 messages. First, scale finance with urgency. Climate finance pledges remain unmet, and adaptation funding is a fraction of what's needed. We must unlock all tools: blue bonds, carbon markets, debt for climate swaps, to direct capital towards your priorities, including renewable energy grids, climate smart agriculture, and resilient infrastructure. Let me also underscore a few important points here. We must debunk the narrative that climate action is expensive. And the best way to do that is to reduce and remove layers of additional costs to financing and investments, while addressing high-risk perceptions in tandem. Investments in renewable energy and clean tech must be more fairly distributed across geographic regions and sub-regions. Difficulty getting access to finance is something that you all know too well. But the UNFCCC stands ready to support you to help remove barriers and bureaucratic hurdles. Second, it's time to transform pledges into progress. Too many projects stall at the proposal stage. The UNFCCC will help you bridge this gap through needs-based finance work in the region. And third, centering communities and youth. The fisherfolk restoring mangroves, the entrepreneurs deploying solar microgrids, the youth demanding bolder action. They are your greatest asset. And we must ensure loss and damage funding reaches the frontline communities who need it most, while integrating their solutions into national policies. Colleagues, the Caribbean's resilience inspires the world, but inspiration alone will not rebuild after a hurricane. This forum must be a catalyst for tangible outcomes, partnerships signed, projects funded, and alliances forged. Remember, every dollar invested in resilience saves lives and livelihoods. Let this moment be not just another dialogue, but become the dawn of a climate-resilient Caribbean. Thank you, and I wish you a productive forum.
We say thank you to Mr. Simon Steele, the UNFCCC. By way of announcement, we want to remind those of you requiring interpretation, please note French channel is number 3, English channels are 1 or 4. We also have a rejuvenation room on site where for a small fee you can get refreshed and rejuvenated. And remember to visit our booths on the outside and purchase some items on your way out. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite our Honorable Minister for Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy, Government of Grenada.
Thank you so much, Miss Master of Ceremony, Mistress of Ceremony, Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, valued partners, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Grenada, the Isle of Spice, a place renowned for its warmth, vibrant culture, as you would have witnessed, and the resilience of its people. It is with great pleasure and immense respect that I stand before you today to address the critical issues we face as a region in tackling the challenges of climate change and to highlight the crucial role that the region plays in shaping a resilient and sustainable future for our people and our planet. As the Caribbean continues to navigate the present-day complexities of climate change, this week's NDC Investment Forum, which Grenada is proud to host, allows us another collective platform to advance a shared regional strategy towards ensuring a resilient and climate-safe and smart Caribbean. As small island economies with minimal contribution to this global planetary threat, our singular focus is the preservation of our people and our livelihoods. Thus, while we stand with healthy and just multilateralism on this issue through adherence to our obligations under the Paris Agreement, as the world's most vulnerable, our future is far from being secure. Our future, colleagues, is at the mercy of climatic impacts that only grow in devastation and frequency. It is up to us, and only us, to innovate our way through. The NDC Investment Forum, ladies and gentlemen, aims not only to catalyze investments in resilient infrastructure, but also to strengthen the mechanisms by which we can access both public and private climate finance, integrating a range of stakeholders, including private sector, into the process. Honorable Ministers, esteemed colleagues, distinguished guests, there is no Caribbean without integrating climate resilience into every facet of our national and regional sustainable development transformation. I would reiterate that. There is no Caribbean without integrating climate resilience into every facet of our national and our regional sustainable development transformation. We have heard the many calls from our small island nations on the need to transform the current global financial landscape and architecture to ensure that we are not left behind. The timely and innovative Bridgetown initiative lays out a concrete set of objectives that consider our special small island circumstances. It is up to us to advance this vision into reality. Regional collective leadership is central to the success of our climate agenda. By leveraging platforms like this, we can ensure that the financial and technical support needed to implement our NDCs is accessible and effectively utilized. Through this forum, we can also engage in meaningful dialogue with international financial institutions, development partners, and the private sector to secure the investments that will underpin our climate actions. This week's discussions, ladies and gentlemen, must focus on solutions for rapid delivery. Colleagues, we can no longer afford any more talk shops. It is our time to deliver rapid action on climate issues. It is my hope that we can leave this investment forum with a collective strategy boosted by creative solutions and a clear political call to action that convey the right signals to both the public and private sectors within our global village. Having already defined our dire circumstance to the world and captured in the 1.5 to stay alive vision within the Paris Agreement, we should now be at the point of reforming our regional institutions and recalibrating our national systems to ensure financial flows through diverse and innovative means into the execution of our national implementation strategies for building climate resilient economic systems. We can no longer afford another Beryl. We can no longer afford another Irma, another Maria, neither another Ivan. The Caribbean has been on the front lines of the climate crisis, forcing us to capture ambitious climate action within our national development processes that considers a catalyzed transition to a resilient and climate-smart future. Our nationally determined contributions reflect not only our ambitions, but also the urgency with which we must act. Every OECS member state has ratified the Paris Agreement, and many of us have advanced from NDC 2.0 to NDC 3.0. And for the Grenadians, here is not the political party, we're still referring to the nationally determined contributions. This strengthens our targets, ladies and gentlemen, and it deepens our commitment. Yet, ambition alone is not enough. Our ability to implement these commitments hinges on access to sustained and scalable climate finance, a challenge that remains one of the greatest barriers to meaningful action. At COP29, we welcome the increased pledges made towards climate finance and the establishment of a loss and damage fund. The Loss and Damage Fund is a supplementary financial instrument that allows the world's most vulnerable countries to recuperate financial resources for climate-induced national transformation roadblocks. However, while these pledges mark progress, SIDS continue to face significant hurdles in accessing these funds, particularly due to the inadequate national capacity and lack of regional and national institutions that ensure successful delivery of implementation that has real impact and which considers our very special circumstances. At COP29, we articulated our clear needs as small island developing states. The first a tripling climate finance for developing countries from the previous goal of $100 billion annually to $300 billion annually by 2035. The second, a collective commitment to mobilize $1.3 trillion annually by 2035 from both the public and private sectors. A strengthen the commitment to delivering funds predictably and on time, ensuring that nations can effectively implement their climate plans. As Grenada's former Minister for Environment and Climate Resilience and current UNFCCC's Executive Secretary, Mr. Simon Still, aptly stated, this new finance goal is, and I quote, an insurance policy for humanity. But like any insurance, it only works if commitments are met and funds are delivered in full and on time. The success of this goal, ladies and gentlemen, will depend on sustained political will, transparency, and a shared sense of urgency. Mr. Still, a son of the soil, with origins on the island of Carriacou, speaks with the weight of Caribbean islands' reality. We need to define as a region what that insurance policy is and how we can set our path towards tangible climate action. Despite global commitments, SIDS still face systemic challenges in accessing climate finance, including protracted approvals processes that delay much needed funding, our reliance on debt financing, which increases fiscal pressures, lack of direct access to climate funds, forcing us to depend on intermediaries. We must collectively advocate, ladies and gentlemen, for reforms that simplify access to finance and allows us to act swiftly in the face of climate threats. If global partners are truly committed to climate justice, then finance must flow on fair, just, and equitable terms. The Caribbean's path to resilience requires transformational financing mechanism, one that are multidimensional, predictable, and sustained. Climate finance must be easily accessible and tailored to the realities of small economies like ours and must not be mere commitments. This means, ladies and gentlemen, reforming the global financial architecture to make climate funds more accessible for SIDS. This follows from the Bridgetown Initiative, which was led and spearheaded by Barbados. This also means expanding concessional financing and grants that supports adaptation and loss and damage recovery. It also means as well, ladies and gentlemen, strengthening public-private partnerships to catalyze investments in renewable energy, resilient infrastructure, and nature-based solutions. While the Caribbean NDC Investment Forum has been a vital mechanism for advancing investment opportunities across the region, much more needs to be done to unlock the necessary capital for transformational change through our regional institutions such as the CDB. As we focus on climate resilience infrastructure, energy, water, and critical infrastructure, the role of financing cannot be overstated. The NDC Investment Forum serves as a dynamic platform to match investment-ready projects with willing investors to ensure that the ideas we discuss today can be translated into tangible funded initiatives. One area that stands out is the focus on energy resilience. With the increasing impacts of climate change, our energy systems, ladies and gentlemen, must evolve to meet the challenges ahead. And Hurricane Beryl really and truly showed us a key example of that. This is why the discussions on smart, resilient infrastructure and geothermal energy are so crucial. The move towards renewable energy solutions, such as microgrids, electric vehicles, and energy-efficient technologies, will play a key role in ensuring that our region is not only resilient, but also is at the forefront of the global transition to clean energy to allow our region to be more competitive. Similarly, addressing water security, a key topic, I see my minister colleague in the crowd from St. Kitts. The OECS region, like many others, faces mounting pressure on our water resources due to changing weather patterns, droughts, and floods. We must continue to invest in water storage, rainwater harvesting, and wastewater management to ensure that our communities remain resilient to climate shocks. Investing in nature-based solutions, ladies and gentlemen, such as mangrove restoration, coral reef rehabilitation, to strengthening coastal resilience is imperative to building such resilience. A key element of this forum is the emphasis on the private sector and their involvement. The Caribbean private sector must play a central role in our climate transformation. From agriculture to infrastructure development, businesses across the region must be equipped to adopt sustainable practices and contribute to the resilience agenda. As governments, we must create an enabling environment that encourages innovation and investment in green technologies and sustainable solutions. So, colleagues, the time for incremental change is over. The survival of our people, economies, and ecosystems depend on how effectively we can mobilize resources. It depends on how effectively we can implement projects and how effectively, as one, we can hold international partners accountable for their pledges. Let us seize this moment, ladies and gentlemen, to drive the agenda forward, ensuring that the Caribbean remains a leader in climate action, not just in ambition, but in execution. Together, we must turn promises into progress and pledges into action. Our future depends on it. And so as we proceed with this forum, I urge all participants to consider the immense opportunity before us. The discussions, the presentations, and partnerships forged here today and for the next few days will set the stage for a more resilient Caribbean. The investments we attract, the projects we scale, and the collaborations we form will determine how well we can protect our communities from climate risks and how effectively we can transition to a sustainable, low-carbon future. Our leadership in this endeavor is invaluable, and so I am confident that under our collective guidance, our region will continue to be a shining example of how climate resilience can be achieved through strategic investments, innovative partnerships, and bold actions. Let us work together as a region to ensure that we not only meet our climate goals, but also build a future that is secure, sustainable, and prosperous for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister James, Minister for Climate Resilience, the Environment, and Renewable Energy. Thank you so much for your reminders. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, before we break for a walkthrough and lunch, I want to invite some members of the audience to take the stage. We have a short panel discussion at this time. I'd like to invite Mr. Luca Trincieri, Team Leader, Green Deal Partnership with the Caribbean Delegation of the European Union to Barbados. Mr. Malak Draz, are you still with us? Miss. Country Manager, OPEC Fund for International Development, Mr. Derek Gibbs. Derek Gibbs is the representative from the Caribbean Development Bank. Ms. Marianne Gis. Ms. Jennifer Hannah Colado. Daniel, are you with us still? Daniel, I might have to call you afterwards. We'll make some room for Daniel in a bit. All right, so the question today, how are we supporting climate action in the Caribbean? And that's the question. Each of you will get an opportunity to share your views and to share some insight on what we're doing in the Caribbean to support climate action. So we'll start with Luca. Do you have a microphone? All right, Luca will begin, and then we'll swap out Luca with Daniel in a few.
Very good. Thank you very much, and a very good morning to everyone. It's very good to see many familiar faces. To respond to the question, I think, let me start by saying that the EU, the European Union, has long recognized that climate crisis is not a distant threat, but a present, okay, now you can hear me more, an existential reality, and in particular for small island development states. This is precisely why we have partnered so closely and consistently with the OECS to support both climate adaptation and mitigation in line with NDCs and the Paris Agreement. We live in a time where there's an attempt to undermine the value of the Paris Agreement, and the EU remains fully committed to supporting the Caribbean leadership on climate adaptation, mitigation, and NDC implementation. In fact, the Global Gateway, which is our strategy to advance sustainable and clean investments across the world, gives us new ways to ensure that finance, expertise, innovation flow where they are needed the most. And I think we've heard some of these calls for action in the previous interventions. So in this sense, the Global Gateway is very aligned to the spirit of the Caribbean NDC Finance Initiative, mobilizing blended finance, technical assistance, policy support to catalyze investments in resilient low-carbon infrastructure and accelerate national climate goals. I think the forum will help us see some of the achievements in the past, but also look at the perspective to strengthen the nexus between public and private initiative for NDC implementation. We've asked, or we've heard how important it is to go beyond the project proposals and mobilize finance. I think the EU perspective in this is try to bring as much as possible a collective capacity from public and private, from public finance to investments to technology transfer and technical assistance and expertise together in this sense. I don't know how long you want me to speak now, or if I maybe spend a couple of minutes just to highlight a couple of good examples, also not just of what we have done in the past and together, but also how we're trying to bring this approach into our way of working with the OECS member states. So for instance, on energy, we've heard a lot about this. We've strengthened public sector capacity, supported geothermal development, energy efficiency programs. But now, for instance, with grid assessments or interconnection studies, we're laying the groundwork for more resilient renewable energy grids, or with study tours, and I see some colleagues and friends whom I've joined in some of these initiatives with facilitating the collaboration between European and Caribbean energy stakeholders. But also, more specifically here in Grenada, for instance, we've committed to rebuild, or to help rebuild 100% renewable energy systems for the hurricane-impacted island of Carriacou and Petite Martinique, while supporting procurement of utility-scale battery storage. So the link with the investments and bringing all our tools to support this link is very strong. I can give you another example, for instance, in the way we've joined forces to respond when disasters struck, linked also to what I've just mentioned. We of course, mobilize multifaceted support in the aftermath of Beryl. But the innovative spin we've tried to do was, how can we maximize the convergence between the reconstruction needs and the Global Gateway resources that we have, trying to channel the resources to those sectors that have been most impacted and align those with the priorities we had jointly agreed. And so water, again, is one of the sectors where in Grenada and in St. Vincent we've trying to advance critical funding for infrastructures like desalination plants and so on. I could give you another example to shift to, for instance, biodiversity. In addition to the support we've traditionally had with regional biodiversity reporting frameworks or coral reef restoration, mangrove protection, we're now trying to expand natural positive investments that can prove that businesses can contribute to preserve and protect biodiversity. We've heard before how important is to go beyond the concept that climate action is expensive. Simon Steele was mentioning this, and I think to help pass this message is important to ensure that we have the whole society participating into these efforts. And of course, I think the commitments we have outside is matched obviously by holding ourselves accountable. So within the EU, we have committed and we are on track actually to exceed our 2030 climate targets. So I would stop here for the moment. Happy to come back if needed, and but just adding one thing to congratulate, obviously the OECS Commission, the government of Grenada for the partnership and for convening us to this forum, which we're proud to support, and I hope that throughout the sessions, including this afternoon session dedicated on Global Gateway, we can look specifically at how mobilizing European private sector investments in support to the NDC implementation, how we are doing it, how can we do it better, and how this can help advance your agenda. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you, Luca. And now we move to Ms. Draz, Country Manager, OPEC Fund for International Development.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Very happy to be here. So for those who don't know, I mean, the OPEC Fund is a multilateral institution. We focus on South-South investments and vulnerable and fragile developing states, including, of course, small island developing states. In terms of commitments, we've done around 27 billion commitments in public and private investments from 1976 to today, including 2 billion in SIDS. It's not a big amount, and we've really realized that we wanted to scale this up. This is why in 2020 we went ahead and really dedicated a concessional bucket for all the fragile and small island developing states. And moreover, more recently, we're having a dedicated strategy for SIDS. We have not only a special package, a financing package, but we also have put in place an island resilience facility. Through this facility, we partner with entities like the OECS under the UNFCCC, and we really try and scale up our investments. So the need is there, the money is there. What we've seen is that the projects need to really be well prepared and well presented and then taken through to implementation. I mean, what financiers really want and need, or what we see is a big delay, is that when you go to a country and you really don't find the information. So one of the things we're trying to do with this resilience facility is a bit of technical assistance to the governments and to the institutions and executing agencies in terms of preparation, presenting the project to financiers, whether on the private or on the public side, and going ahead with it. The implementation side is very important as well, because when you go into a project, what we would like to see is disbursements and really projects following through. If not, it will really delay and impact the future projects. So this is really what we're trying to push forward. We're very happy with the OECS and our partnership, especially in this region, because with this we are able to identify and really prepare good climate adaptation and mitigation projects. So maybe I'll stop there and leave the rest for Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Malak. Before we move to the money man on stage, I want to swap out Daniel and Luca, and we'll bring you in on this conversation. So let's hear from Caribbean Development Bank representative at this time. Mr. Gibbs, proceed.
Good morning. I don't want to be classed up as the money man, but I mean, I believe everyone in the room is quite familiar with the role of the Caribbean Development Bank, CDB. And before I start, just let me thank the OECS Commission. And the Caribbean Development Bank is very proud to partner with the OECS Commission. This is the third forum, and we have been supporting from the first. So it shows a level of dedication by the bank to these regional initiatives. The role of CDB to its 19 board member countries is significant. We have taken a strategic approach when it comes to climate finance. And part of that is how do we build strategic partnerships in terms of scaling up the level of climate finance. We heard it this morning from the ministers, from the executive secretary of the UNFCCC, that we need to scale up. The flow of funds to the region does not reflect the threat that we face as a region. As you all know, we are currently on the front line when it comes to climate change. So CDB, as I said, has taken this strategic approach in terms of building partnerships. And for example, so we are accredited to the GCF, as you all know, also to the Adaptation Fund. And only recently, in the latter part of 2024, we were able to have an upgrade to our accreditation to the GCF. So we were first accredited for 50 million in terms of projects, and that reaccreditation now allows us now to take projects to the size of 250 million. So that is strategic for the Caribbean Development Bank and also for the region, in that now we can scale up, we can be more ambitious. So before, when we were thinking now small projects, now we're thinking larger projects, even programs where we can involve more than one country. So therefore, economies of scale, greater impact. So that is really the push of the Caribbean Development Bank to scale up, to have greater impact, to mobilize greater resources. Currently, we have in our pipeline for the GCF over $700 million in projects that we have submitted, and also projects that we have in the pipeline to develop going forward. Same also with the Adaptation Fund, but as we know, that is a smaller fund. In addition, we're also looking at how do we build also on the bilateral side. So we have partnered with the EIB, the European Investment Bank. We've also partnered with EU and also with Canada IDB. For example, with Canada, just recently we were able to have a program called Surge, which looks at renewable energy and how we scale up renewable energy within the region. With IDB, the person here from St. Kitts and Nevis, I see the Honorable Minister from St. Kitts and Nevis, and we had that discussion around geothermal, also with Dominica. And CDB is the executive entity partnering with the IDB. And also with the EU, we have our CARE program, which many of our board member countries in the room has already benefited from grants under that program. We think also and I heard it already, that we need to build stronger projects, more bankable projects. As we try to, and we heard the word, how do we access those funds? And part of the struggle sometimes for countries is how to develop these bankable projects that can be approved and access the financing. And what CDB has done, and our board approved late last year, was the setting up of this climate change project preparation fund. Because we recognize that a lot of work, upscale work, needs to be done to be able to develop those strong projects that can then seek financing. And these will not be only CDB's own funded projects that we will support, but these will also be projects that countries may want to take to a GCF or to an AF. So we do see the need to be able to build that capacity across countries. And also CDB, in part of our own program, we are providing technical assistance to our countries to build the capacity that is needed. So I would stop here, but just to say that at the end of 2024, and it goes back to supporting climate action, and I think part of that is in terms of size, in terms of scale. At the end of 2024, we were able, with our limited resources, to be able to provide support of over $100 million to our BMCs for climate actions. And that included both on the mitigation side and on the resilience side. And we are looking to even be more ambitious going forward. So I just want to stop here and hand back over to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbs. And we move to the head of Project GIZ, Grenada, Climate Resilience Water Sector in Grenada, G. Cruz. Marianne, proceed.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and I thank the OECS and Government of Grenada for having us. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the German Development Corporation, GIZ, but we have been here in the region active for more than 30 years, and we continue to be. On behalf of our donors, which is the European Commission, the European Union, the Grenada Climate, the German government, and also in Climate Fund. We have been partnering with the OECS Secretariat and CARICOM member states in various climate projects and climate actions. We have been working on renewable energy, sustainable transport, biodiversity, waste, water, cooling, you name it. We have also 6 more projects in the pipeline, which is very exciting to me, because there we will intensify our work on renewable energies, on circular economy, including the use of sargassum for biogas, biodiversity, blue economy, and green and blue jobs. I could now spend a lot of time talking about past joint successes with our partners, but let me just name a few. A few years back, also, when I came to the island, we started to work with Grenada on the first National Adaptation Plan, which I think was one of the first to be submitted, definitely from this region, but also in the world. I think we did a quite decent job because we were asked to support again with the update now. We also supported the government of Grenada in the phase-out of F-gases, so in the cooling sector and the National Green Cooling Action Plan, which enables Grenada to be one of the leading countries in the world when it comes to natural refrigerants and green cooling. In Dominica, we worked together with our partners in sustainable marine financing. With the government of St. Lucia, we have been working in the past few years and started and embarked on a project, and were able to secure funding for at least 15 electric vehicles, the relevant charging infrastructure, and solar PV. This fleet will showcase in St. Lucia how the emergency services and the police can actually work on renewably powered fleet. St. Lucia was also, and we heard that before, first of the countries to resubmit their updated NDC, with a tiny little help from us as well. Following this conference, we had invited some members from St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and the OECS Secretariat to engage with the Climate Resilient Water Sector in Grenada project on an intense study tour to visit some of the construction sites that are currently going up in Grenada for climate resilient water sector, and to engage with all the partners and the governmental institutions and financial institutions to discuss that. This ties in nicely with the work that we're doing at GIZ with our partners in the OECS on accessing additional financing. So we have been working together on renewable energy, blue economy, and the conceptualizing which is ongoing on climate proofing of key infrastructure, utility infrastructure in the region. But we're here not for just a short visit. In my more than 8 years presence here in the region, I learned one thing, and that is you have to be present. You have to work with your partners hand in hand, and it's that local presence, I think, that sets us apart. I understand the unique challenges of this region, because might it be that it's a hurricane that hits the island, or it's a drought, or a pandemic. We hear when we know the local communities and what they need to respond to that. So may it be that there's opportunities for public-private partnership or joining forces and organizing a conference. I think we are present enough to understand and learn from our partners of how we can respond. I think that responsiveness is crucial in a region here, where conditions can change rapidly. And from my experience, sometimes things are a little bit last minute sometimes as well. I think what sets us apart is our commitment. And it's not just when our temporary international staff leaves that we are, like the projects are implemented and we are gone, but that we continue through our engagement and building local capacities together with our partners, within our staff, that this makes a difference in terms of sustainability and local ownership. And that is at the heart of what GIZ and the German Development Corporation does. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. We are seeing some work in Grenada. We appreciate you here. And we now move to Ms. Jennifer Hanna Colado, Regional Manager for Latin America and the Caribbean NDC Partnership Support Unit. And then we'll round up this segment with Danielle. Proceed.
Thank you. Hello. Yes. Thank you. Hi, good morning. Very happy to be here today. Being a Caribbean myself, it's always, you don't know how much you miss it until you're on the ground and you have that vibe injected into you. So very happy to be here in Grenada with all of you today. What I want to do is maybe share 3 main points of the partnership. It's all opportunities, it's all the windows of how you engage with the partnership in order for us everybody here in this room and get the ultimate objective, which is basically climate action on the ground. So the first thing is basically maybe highlight what is the NDC partnership. And the NDC partnership is a coalition. It's a coalition of countries and institutions that are working together to deliver ambitious climate action towards the implementation of the Paris Agreement, but also never forgetting the Sustainable Development Goals. The partnership doesn't have a hidden agenda. The agenda of the partnership is the agenda of the countries. And what we do is work together with the countries on highlighting those priority needs in order for create a tailored request from the country to the membership in order to highlight those priority needs and then transfer those into actionable programs and policies to be able to get that implementation on the ground. Another thing that I want to highlight here is that the way that we work and the vision of the program of the partnership is because of 2 of their main focal points. So the focal points for the partnership are those ministers of environment, so climate authorities, but also the ministers of finance or planning that work together in addressing and making sure that climate change is a cross-cutting element in their development agenda, but also within consideration for the budget, internal budget, but also external cooperation budget. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I wanted to highlight is how is the partnership working towards supporting countries and developing NDCs. And this is where I want to highlight the global call, which is the mechanism of the partnership to support countries on making sure you have the access needed to develop those NDC, but also the technical expertise that is needed in terms of like making sure that those elements that were missing in the previous NDC and lessons learned and implementation progress of those NDC are well considered into the NDC 3.0 for all countries in the Caribbean. And here I want to highlight, maybe invite everybody to our session tomorrow, basically looking into NDC 3.0 development ambition, along with the RCC Grenada. And we have St. Lucia experience there to make sure that the Caribbean knows how it was the vision and experience of solution developing this, and how can the region together make sure that elements that were considered in St. Lucia's NDC 3.0, but also in the other countries of the region are considered to make sure that we have the vehicle to make sure that those are accessible to finance. And with that, also with the global call, we develop along with the UNCCC and the UNDP and GIZ, WRI and other partners, the NDC 3.0 Navigator, which is an interactive tool basically responding to a lot of questions and requests from country on making sure that how do I include my global stock take balance outcomes in my NDC 3.0, but also how I make sure that those elements that were not necessarily considered in the previous NDC are now highlighted and they are priority for the country to actually achieve that. So the NDC 3.0 Navigator's public accessibly is an interactive tool, as I mentioned before. It is meant to be how the name is titled, is a navigator. You can navigate the tool in the way that you want in the terms of whatever sector, areas, and elements that you're looking to enhance your NDC 3.0, but also in terms of finance. And this is where I go for the third point and highlighting maybe some of the aspects that Amanda in our welcome message highlighted. And this is basically has our response for our membership. One of the biggest areas that is requested through our membership is access to finance. Access to finance in many terms is how do I create the capacity in place in-house to make sure that I have a sustainable capacity integrated in my institutions and in my country to make sure that we are accessing the funds that we need to access, but also how we make sure that we are creating those elements that is needed in terms of like the different criterias of project development phase aspect. And we also do that by integrating or making sure that the country that requests embedded advisors are ready and capacitated to provide those specific requests. But also, besides that technical expertise, I wanted to highlight the framework of investment planning and resource mobilization that we developed with the Green Climate Fund has a way for countries to make sure that this is a resource available for you, to make sure that the road that you're looking in terms of advancing on climate finance access, it is well aligned with what the international community and the accessibility of funds is looking for as well. So we're here to support. This is the work of the partnership, and I think that this panel has all members of the partnership and highlighting that this is basically what we do, is collaborative action. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I'm hearing a lot of collaboration and partnership, and that's why we're here. So we hope that members of the audience will check out your event tomorrow. See, there's an ad for you. All right, Danielle, you have the floor at this time. You're going to wrap up this segment, and then we move to our break.
Great, thank you. And thanks for all of the speakers and Luca for lending me his chair. Appreciate it. But no, for those of you that aren't familiar with the Global Green Growth Institute, we're an international intergovernmental organization, which means states are our members. We're an organization founded in 2012, and ultimately we're dedicated to supporting our members and partner countries to transition to low carbon, environmentally sustainable, and socially inclusive green economic growth. How we do that is our model is ultimately to have long-term embeddedness within our partner countries, within strategic ministries, where we're able to provide day-to-day, on-demand technical assistance and flexible support. We've talked about the various capacity challenges that developing countries, particularly SIDS, face. So being embedded and having working day-to-day with government counterparts really allows us to meet the needs and provide really sound technical and timely advice to our government counterparts when they have that need and need that support. We work across all development sectors, and our support comes at a policy level where we work with governments to create that enabling environment, whether it's through policy, developing particular policies or strategies, investment plans. And I think now more so it's on that investment side, where we're also the other side of our service or our model is to provide support, technical assistance in helping to mobilize green climate finance and green investments. We are, sorry, one sec, the examples here. So those are the two models or the two areas on the policy side and on the investment side. And more so it is, we understand that over the last 20 years of climate action that countries have developed a lot that created that enabling environment and have the policies and the strategies, and there really is a need for action. So that's where more and more where our focus is as GGGI is to help mobilize finance and green investments, and perhaps no more so than in Latin America and the Caribbean region, where of the 10 billion USD that GGGI has helped mobilize globally, nearly half has come from our work in Latin America and the Caribbean. And we've done that through various solutions and mechanisms, including green and blue bonds, debt for nature swaps, carbon transactions, engaging the private sector, particularly licensed financial institutions, to build their capacity and help them engage in climate action. We've also we're not an accredited entity, but we have a framework agreement with the GCF, so we engage in helping governments to access a lot of grant funds through the GCF and other climate finance windows. And we've also worked very grass level with green entrepreneurs, youth, to provide seed grants and accelerator loans. Here in the Caribbean, we have 3 large programs in the Dominican Republic, in Guyana, and in the OECS. We're very proud to count the OECS as our only non-state member of our 50 global members, and strategically that's allowed us to work in all of the OECS member countries, providing policy support and helping to mobilize finance. And I think that's some examples where to date, particularly in St. Lucia, and we'll hear more about that in some of the this afternoon and tomorrow's sessions, but we've been strategically embedded within the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, helping provide that technical capacity, but also to build capacity. On the policy side, we've supported government in its, St. Lucia government in its work to develop its blue bond framework, as well as a debt for nature swap strategy. We're also very engaged in supporting government mobilize finance for priority investments. We've helped government develop its climate finance unit that's coming online this year. We're supporting structure and issue a blue bond that will finance a number of sustainable activities, supporting on climate tagging, climate expenditure, institutional reviews, and building up that capacity, both within the public sector and private sector. We're rolling out a new program engaging commercial banks and credit unions to start to build up their capacity in terms of identifying and managing climate risk, ultimately to better or have the private sector be a source of finance for various climate-related projects, because there is so much untapped private sector finance. And we'll continue this is the work that we do, so we're really excited about the forum, because it's going to be an opportunity to share what we've been doing and how we've been supporting the governments in the region, but also to learn from what else is happening here, because I think we're all in agreement that it's a collaborative effort. There's so much going on, and now more so than ever with the changing geopolitical context, that we're really learning, collaborating, and charting a way forward is going to be key, because ultimately we need to move to action. I think as we've all mentioned here, that's the key. We need to be able to come away. So we're excited to learn and contribute. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel, and special thanks to all of our panelists this morning, including Luca, who is back in the audience. Thank you so much, and I invite you to take your break at this time. Thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause. So we've come to the end of the first part of our forum today. We'd like to invite all of you to take a break at this time, and we have a walkthrough. We have booths on the outside. We want you to ensure that you check out the booths. Right? The urgency of climate crisis demands not just bold commitments and great ambitions, but of course concrete investments. So let's be reminded, as Director General said, let's rise together as a Caribbean community. We're all in this together, so let's do what we can to accelerate climate finance and climate action. So have a good morning, everyone. Let's take a break, and we'll come right back. You can access your schedule. How many minutes? 15 minutes? All right, so they're saying 15 minutes break. So take a break at this time, and we'll come back with some more.